It seems like reality is just far more complex than people realize.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're delving into the world of creepy paranormal experiments that are so mind-bending you wouldn't believe they actually happened.
We have eyewitnesses and interviews lined up with people who are going to openly share their Skinwalker stories.
Ganzfeld Experiments. During the 1970s, psychologist Charles Norton and his colleagues were pushing beyond the conventional boundary of science for evidence confirming the existence of telepathy.
It is a way that your brain finds patterns out of unstructured stimuli.
Their Ganzfeld experiments placed ping pong ball halves over the person's eyes, then placed them in a sensory deprivation environment filled with a dim red light and white noise.
You have to give your brain some sort of input. This is giving your brain something that is completely unstructured.
This would put the alleged telepath into a meditative state where they attempt to tune into whatever they can receive mentally from another participant in a separate room. Researchers conducted hundreds of these experiments, and Norton claimed results show that the self-proclaimed telepaths scored higher than average. However, many dispute the interpretation of data that led to this claim.
It's completely inconclusive. In fact, traditional science would call this pseudoscience, to be totally above board. So I would say with our results, there's some intrigue there.
The pair anomalies research started in the late 1970s and fully operational until 2007. The Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab explored the limits of human consciousness.
And it was not a subject that I had any background in from a scholarly standpoint.
They theorized that human thoughts or intentions could have physical outcomes in reality, suggesting that intention creates resonance affecting the physical world. If the resonance from human thoughts could interact with physical objects like a random number generator, it could theoretically introduce order and reduce the randomness of the generator, increasing the chance of a successful prediction.
And over many years of trials and many kinds of random devices, the PAIR lab has demonstrated, to a highly significant degree, that the human mind has a small but measurable influence on random physical systems.
The lab actually did this exact experiment along with many others, only to find a very slight change in outcome. It may not sound creepy at face value, but imagine this used in gambling, an election, or even worse, war.
Human mind and the information processing machines seem to be entering into some sort of a dialogue which influences both the machine and the human mind that is interacting with it.
The Rhine Research Center. The Rhine Research Center is sometimes described as a blend of scientific method and pursuit of the unknown.
And we study something called PK, or psychokinesis. In Stranger Things, Eleven has this ability to crush Coke cans with her mind. We don't see things that extreme, but we do see things where people are able to have effects on physical objects just with their intention.
For decades, the Rhine Research Center has been a pillar in the field of parapsychology, questioning preconceived notions of human consciousness, how it interacts with the world, and if it survives death. The center conducts experiments to test candidates for special abilities like psychokinesis, telepathy, and clairvoyance.
We're trying to find out if there's a way that we can determine, is there an energy that is being presented that's causing this to happen?
Yes, it's almost like a real-life Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters from the X-Men. It's cool thinking there might be some real-life superheroes out there, but then again, that would imply there are supervillains as well, and that just creeps us out.
We are scientists. We're not just going out and, it's not X-Files. We're not Ghostbusters. We are actually doing very controlled laboratory experiments and publishing peer-reviewed research papers.
Society for Physical Research, Census of Hallucinations. In 1894, the Society for Physical Research conducted a census of hallucinations, a survey of 17,000 people.
Could there really be something to this?
The study found that 1,684, or about 10%, have had hallucinations or experiences of paranormal apparitions. 350 cases out of the 1,684 reported with sightings. They claim to see and hear ghostly apparitions of their loved ones at their exact time of death, while being in a completely separate location from the deceased. Either 10% of a census is hallucinating, or ghosts are real. Honestly, either one is pretty scary.
There are many different types of claims that people have about psychic phenomena, and unfortunately it's very easy for a lot of these people, if they're charismatic, to capture the interest of the public.
The University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, DOPS. In 2005, Dr. Jim Tucker of the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies was examining the case of James Leininger, a young Louisiana boy who began recalling horrifying memories of being a pilot in World War II.
He was saying, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. And that's what he was repeating over and over.
Around the age of 2, James started having vivid nightmares, reliving the death of aviator James Houston, a Corsair pilot shot down near Iwo Jima. At first, the parents were skeptical, until James started giving oddly specific details, like the ship he took off from, the name of his best friend aboard it, and even the name of his squadron.
And Bruce had asked him, do you remember what kind of plane you flew? And he said it was a Corsair.
Further investigation would show that the child's imagination may have been actual memories, as documents were found that actually verify all historical authenticity of these claims.
We interview not just the child, but the family and anyone else who can corroborate what the child has said.
Project Stargate, SRRI remote viewing program. The movie The Men Who Stare at Goats was drawn from Project Stargate, formed by the Stanford Research Institute and the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Now that they are doing psi research, we're going to have to do psi research, sir. We can't afford to have the Russians leading the field in the paranormal.
In short, this was a real-life saga of Third Eye spies, operating from 1977 to 1995. The covert psychic program was utilized by the CIA, DIA, and the U.S. Army to spy on adversary nations.
In 1995, it was revealed that the U.S. Army had a team of psychic spies. And I suddenly thought, my God, were the psychic spies the tip of an even weirder iceberg?
For 20 years, remote viewers like Ingo Swann, Joe McGonigal, and Pat Price were using alleged psychic abilities to collect intelligence. Despite its woo-woo connotations, the remote viewing method was proving to be quite successful, successfully discovering things like the location of a Russian sub. What's stopping anyone, even evil people, from using these methods for insidious purposes?
If there's a pattern behind those things that you see, then one might want to investigate how to use, where that luck came from. Can it be trained? Does it really exist as a phenomenon that humans can adapt to?
The Phillip Experiment. Ever had an imaginary friend? Well, what if that imaginary character wasn't just a figment of the imagination?
In 1972, a group consisting of 8 members of the Society for Psychical Research in Toronto, Canada, decided to find out more about this mysterious force.
In 1972, a group from the Toronto Society for Physical Research attempted to manifest a being through pure mind power. The study group created a character named Philip Elsford, a knight from the 17th century who took his life after his wife had his mistress killed for alleged witchcraft.
Philip was an aristocratic Englishman living in the middle 1600s at the time of Oliver Cromwell.
After a year of meditation yielded no results, the team switched to a traditional seance. Eventually, they allegedly contacted the made-up character and got it on film. Many believe the group contacted a demon posing as their made-up friend.
I think this whole concept has made me much more aware of energy forces around.
Skywatcher, summoning the unknown. The Skywatcher team's initiative is to explore the enigma that is unidentified aerial phenomena with both conventional and unconventional methods.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. At Skywatcher, we've set out to prove it.
Using machine calling and psionic calling methods, the UAP hunters claim to be able to call in UAPs on demand. Discovering 9 different classes of UAP, most of the UAP seem to be non-hostile and go about their business.
Not only do they think that we're going to see things in the sky, but we're going to be able to track it. We're going to be able to actually gather a variety of different data related to this thing.
But some, like the jellyfish class, have been reported to encroach upon the team, with other UAPs seeming to put themselves between them. Perhaps some are good and some are bad. Maybe summoning them could be dangerous.
There's a difference between believing and knowing. And you want to work with people who know things, so there is no question about the validity.
The Parins family haunting, The Conjuring. Often referred to as the Conjuring House, this farmhouse is home to one of the most high-profile hauntings in America.
How much time passed before you knew that something was different about this house?
About 5 minutes.
The Perrin family moved into their new home in Harrisville, Rhode Island in the 1970s when strange occurrences began to take place. This included unexplained noises, cold spots, moving objects, and even physical harm, particularly on wife and mother Carolyn Parins.
That's when she understood that we were living in a portal cleverly disguised as a farmhouse.
Eventually, the family contacted the acclaimed paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens conducted a seance with the family when Carolyn allegedly became possessed and was levitated while speaking in tongues before being violently tossed to the ground. The aggressive hauntings continued until the family left.
I still feel threatened. I feel threatened.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Skinwalker Ranch, a strange place. One of the strangest places on Earth, Skinwalker Ranch has been home to UAP sightings, poltergeist-like activity, cryptid sightings in the form of impossibly large wolves, and even cattle mutilations.
This is an area that's got high strangeness and some really strange GPS activity.
Right.
If there's anybody watching this, we just rang their doorbell pretty loud.
The site has been investigated by private scientific teams studying the paranormal phenomenon at the location. It has also been a part of the AAWSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Application Program, studying real UAPs on behalf of the Department of Defense.
Members of our armed forces have come forward over many years with reports of unidentified aerial phenomena that they actually captured. And instead of that information being well received, it's often been denigrated.
Some of those defense officials even claim that something followed them from the site, causing hauntings to their families. Oh yeah, we can't forget to mention the claims from the Navajo tribe of shape-shifting witches on the land, giving the site its cryptic name, Skinwalker Ranch.
This is not something that the Navajo take lightly at all.
We don't think we'll be visiting anytime soon. What unexplained phenomena do you think deserve to be studied? Tell us in the comments.
When you walk in a house that evil, you know that that house really had very, 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 very bad vibes.